I recently came across a disturbing post from someone I know who was saying they have stopped supporting the RNLI because they rescued people from a sinking boat trying to cross the English Channel illegally. Well, now, I found that train of thought to be very interesting. But does what I say and think matter? Do we only listen to people who we agree with? Or do we really try to understand the point of view of others? If you are conservative, do you just seek out conservative commentators? And if liberal, only the ones that agree with your views? My name is Ian Currey, and this is Thinking Out Loud. Come on, let me tell you what I think. Every now and then, even I get surprised by what some of my friends say they believe. I often feel like a deep discussion is needed to see how we arrived at our particular points of view. But in our high-paced world, know that that is highly unlikely to happen. These days, having such discussions can really sort out who your friends really are too. Mostly, I've learned to hold my tongue and practice what Paul said to his friends in Rome. Don't let evil conquer you, but conquer evil by doing good. Getting involved in the nonsensical arguments on both sides of the political spectrum simply gets people all wound up and leaves little time for doing things that friends usually do. Care for each other. I mean, nobody likes a wound up person, do they? But Ian, the issues are huge. You can't just go around loving people and being nice and expecting to change the world. Well, why not? Isn't that exactly what Jesus told us to do? Or am I missing something here? This particular video is a little unusual in that it's a reaction to something that made me stop in my tracks and say, "What now?" I was genuinely puzzled by something a friend had sent me. I thought I knew them well and didn't expect them to be saying what they were saying. But I'm getting ahead of the script. Let's have some background. The Royal National Lifeboat Institute, the RNLI, is the organisation in the UK that operates most of the rescue boats around the coast of Britain. These lifeboats have saved thousands of lives since they started back in 1824. These days they operate about 400 rescue boats based at lifeboat stations all around the coast. As a charity organisation, yes, a charity, they raise funds just like any other charity does. Being a seafaring nation completely surrounded by the sea, the RNLI comes in very handy sometimes. One of my younger brothers used to work as crew with one of these boats years and years ago. Now, having personally been in a situation where rescue boats were my only way out of the sea, I fully appreciate the work that the RNLI do. Around the world, if rescue services exist at all, they are often operated as an extension of the Coast Guard or the Navy. Here in the United States, for example, the US Coast Guard is much more aligned with the military and homeland security than plucking weekend sailors from the sea when they get themselves into difficulty. Now, I'm sure the US Coast Guard do an outstanding job, but their role isn't specifically that of oceanic lifeguard. They have other important things to do too. In my own case, as an Englishman, I find it interesting that the ship I was rescued from was first served by an Argentine patrol boat alongside the Chilean Navy. At the time, the UK had not long prior been involved in the Falkland War, where Great Britain and Argentina had been at war. There's no love lost between Argentina and Chile either. And yet, there they were working together to rescue me. And I don't recall being asked, "Where are you from? You're not one of those English people, are you?" before being plucked from the icy waters. Right up to date then, and the RNLI is still involved in rescuing people who would otherwise drown at sea all around the coast of the British Isles, and still with an all-volunteer crew. They still operate as a charity. While there are, as ever, the usual sailors who get themselves into trouble, ships that sink, or swimmers that get washed out to sea by strong currents, these days the number of people being plucked from the water include a larger number of people who have left the shores of mainland Europe in an attempt to reach England in unsuitable inflatable boats. When the boats become waterlogged or sink, the lifeboats, of course, do their job and rescue the lives that would otherwise be lost to the sea. So, what was that comment that specifically wound me up enough to sit in front of the camera and make this video? The comment was tagged to a picture of migrants being rescued and said, "And this is why I stopped supporting the RNLI." That alone caught me by surprise. But the bigger thing for me was that I know the person sending me the post to claim to be a follower of Jesus. My struggle isn't with the person particularly. You'll notice I'm not calling him out by name or organization, and yes, we're still friends. We just disagree on some things. However, I struggled to square the couple of sentences before Paul's overcome evil with good theme that as a follower of Jesus I would hold dear. Do all that you can to live in peace with everyone. Dear friends, never take revenge. Leave that to the righteous anger of God. For the scriptures say, "I will take revenge. I will pay them back," says the Lord. Instead, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If they are thirsty, give them something to drink. And presumably, by inference, if they are drowning, pull them out of the water. In doing this, you will heap burning coals of shame on their heads. Don't let evil conquer you, but conquer evil by doing good. Sadly, many who claim to follow Jesus are buying into the idea that those people are somehow outside of the scope of their spelled out remit. The impression that is giving to those looking on is that followers of Christ are being selective with the truth, the gospel, and selective with the very principles they claim to believe in. This gives the impression of a lack of both logic and credibility. I'm not asking for everyone to start raising funds for the RNLI, but if you once felt the urge to do so and now don't because they are saving the wrong kind of people, well, now perhaps you see what cranked my spring. Far from faith in God turning off your brain and all logical, critical thinking, it should enhance those abilities. When faith and fact collide, it isn't always fact that is at fault. Sometimes our interpretation of faith may just have a kink in its think. While I'm on what some will see as a rant, I should mention that while some things are truly important, none are as important as walking the path Jesus sets before us. Sometimes that path will take us where we don't want to go, but always will take us the right way. The right way may not always seem like a winning way to us. By hook or by crook, we got there in the end. We did whatever it takes. The end justifies the means. But look at the good that bad is doing for our cause. Seriously? Didn't anything Jesus ever say stick? The end never did justify the means, did it? How you get where we're going matters deeply. And yes, the RNLI should continue to rescue people who are in the sea. Now, how they got to be in the sea in the first place is quite another issue, and that needs addressing. But don't start beating up the good guys because the good they do doesn't fit with our particular strain of political belief. Quite how Christian teaching has found itself in the backseat wondering where it's going instead of being a living sat-nav guiding our every move is beyond me. It seems to me that political grandstanding, we need to do something, has taken over from the peace of Christ and much of what Christians used to claim to stand for. When was the last time you prayed for our political leaders instead of critiquing them? When was the last time you practically loved an enemy? Go on, give it a try. Some of my best friends, I'm sure, would love you right back. Until next time, goodbye.